Oh, we're going to the rodeo today. The folks will come from miles and miles away.
My family name at birth was Crawford. I have many close and distant cousins, lots I haven't met. We're spread over far distances in at least 3 states of Australia. But before some of us can even remember, we all come from a family that once lived around the Nowra area of South Coast New South Wales. Our ancestors were there for about 100 years. Our earlier Crawford family were settlers and workers on the land who first arrived in New South Wales in the mid-1850s. They were from Armagh, Northern Ireland, in particular the area around Tandragee. The generation of my Australian-born father, Len Crawford, was the last of our family to call Nowra home. He had 3 brothers, Mervyn, Ray and Barry Crawford, and 2 sisters, Dawn and Valma Crawford. They were all the children of Joseph Crawford and Annie Ganderton, who had both been born in the Nowra area too. The family lived through the Great Depression of the 1930s, a time of great hardship in Australia and around the world. In the mid-1940s, Annie was left a single mother with 6 kids. Sons, Mervyn and Ray, were near adult age, but Len, Barry, Dawn and Valma were all younger. Their father, Joe, had gone to Wilcannia, away in the northwest of the state. Around the same time, Ray Crawford, aged about 20, started making a name for himself as a rough rider at rodeos. Over the next decade, his brothers Barry, Len and Mervyn were on the rodeo trail too.
I'm going out west with no fear, where they're riding the buck and the steer, the place they call the land of liberty. Every time we get our pay, we make whoopee all the day. The cowboy life is good enough for me.
Rodeo drew huge crowds in the 1930s. This footage is from a 1932 event in Adelaide, South Australia. It attracted between 45 and 65,000 people, far beyond the capacity of the Jubilee Oval where it was held. The 1950s were also a peak time for the sport in Australia. This was when the Crawford brothers, especially Ray Crawford, were proving their skill and talent as horsemen and rough riders. Their interest in rodeo grew out of their work. They were horse breakers and country labourers. Another reason to follow the rodeos was money. For example, at the Warwick Rodeo in Queensland in the 1940s, the open buck jump prize was $200. The weekly wage for a labourer back then was about $10.
It will be a great day at the Warwick Rodeo when Ed Portley greets the cowhands from the west. And he hands out the prizes for the rodeo affairs and judges the bronc riding contest.
Beer drinking was a big part of the rodeo circuit, but Ray Crawford is said to have never been a drinker and ordered lemonade at the pub. Newspaper reports at the time record the many broken bones for those rough riders, and worse. My father Len broke a collarbone, and Uncle Ray Crawford rode a buck jumper at least once with a broken arm in plaster. A rider's showmanship on the horses and dress could be part of it too. A 1952 newspaper report mentions Ray Crawford's pretty boots, chaps and spectacular hat. He later went on to America as a whipcracker.
So polish up your saddle, polish up your boots. The big show is near, so let us go. Polish up your spurs, saddle up and ride. We're heading for the Warwick Rodeo.
The music that went with the rodeo trail was contributed by artists like Slim Dusty and Buddy Williams, among others. Buddy Williams later recorded 2 songs my father wrote. One of these is about the rodeo and the freedom of life on the road. Ray Crawford had an illustrious ongoing career in rodeo, and in 1976 was awarded an Order of Australia for his services to the sport. Barry Crawford also continued working horses and riding rodeos for decades. Len and Mervyn later took different paths. Sisters Dawn and Valma Crawford married and had children. Mervyn Crawford was grandfather to Canberra Raiders rugby player Terry Campese. Ray Crawford was the grandfather of AFL football and media legend Shane Crawford and his brother Justin, who also played league football. Descendants of Barry Crawford are still riding rodeos. Between them, the Crawford siblings had 15 children. To this day, there are another 2 generations of their children and grandchildren beyond.